So I know we're a little bit late to this party, but we thought better late than never. Talk about Paul Arriola. We know it's kind of been confirmed for a while that he was going to join, but now it's been officially announced. And of course, we're with Brody. But this time, instead of having Favi or Will, we have Jose, who is an FC Dallas fan. Yeah, yeah. We're going to get his perspective on Paul Arriola. This might actually be a double upload as well, either vice versa, either or. You might be seeing this video second or first. Whereas Will gonna have a video out talking about Kim Keehee and all the spicy stuff that came along with that whole transfer saga. But first, let's talk about Paul Arriola. He's now on the team. He's trained with the team. He's going to be number 17. Jose, what was your thoughts on Paul Arriola joining Seattle as a Dallas fan?
Okay, I'm gonna try and be as unbiased as I possibly can here. I'll be honest. I think as an FC Dallas fan, letting go, let's just talk about letting go of Arriola first and what we're kind of losing there. I think there's a strong veteran in there that we're losing for sure. Keep in mind, this is our captain for the last couple seasons. So it's someone that I think Dallas fans love a lot as a person. Means a lot to a lot of the fan base. I don't get very attached to players. So from my perspective, Ariola's done, he did a lot of good for Dallas. I think he had one fantastic season. I think the rest of his time there is very up and down. So much so that by the end of his tenure with Dallas, we didn't even know what his real position really was. He's a winger, but he also has right back experience, and we were really, really shallow at that position. And so he was doing that a lot of that for Dallas as well. He was definitely the captain, but I felt a lot of that was personality driven. And I don't know how much value towards the end we were really, really getting out of Paul Arriola. There was a rumor, not last season, but the season before, where the Galaxy were preparing a bid for him, right? A significant bid. I think it was going to be a significant portion of their GAM pool, right? And they were going to try and acquire him midseason. I was so pushing for that deal to happen. And part of it was me just thinking Dallas needed a rebuild all the way around, which is also why I'm not mad at that Ferreira has gone to Seattle. I think you're getting two proven MLS talents. Don't get me wrong. I just think for what he cost us, for the DP designation that he had at one point, I think it felt like this was the right time to move on. And I think the biggest benefit that we get from this deal is the fact that we get just more salary off the books. That's really what this is. I don't know what to expect from him in these new colors in the green and blue of Seattle. I could not tell you what to expect going in. What you will get for sure, I can't argue this, is a hard worker and a proven MLS veteran who, at the end of the day, still notched almost 70 plus goal contributions and in 7 or 8 seasons in MLS. Like, it's decent. It's not Ferreira's numbers, don't get me wrong, but 50 USMNT caps, he does bring value to the team. I do see him being more of a depth piece, though.
In your opinion, for Seattle, do you think this was good business or bad business bringing in Areola? Because we talked about it actually on Goals TV as well, but I want to get your perspective as a Dallas. Do you feel like, oh, Seattle, we absolutely do hickey them? Like, can't believe we got Areola off the books. Now they have to deal with him. Is it like that, or it's like, like his time was up, but like, do Seattle get something from him?
There's value there for you guys. Don't get me wrong, right? If you remove the salary piece for Dallas, it's really just kind of a neutral move, right? Like, the only benefit that we have as a club is that we got that salary off the books. Like, if he costs next to nothing, I really wouldn't mind having Paul Arriola. But my biggest problem with him has always been the level of production for what we're getting in return, right? That's always my biggest issue. At least over the last couple seasons, he had that 1 year in 2022 or 2021 where he actually had like double-digit goals and a fair amount of total goal contributions. Like, that's great, but we haven't seen that since. In all honesty, since he got snubbed for the 2022 World Cup, he's just kind of fallen off production-wise to an extent. But I don't think that, like, oh yeah, we're sitting here saying, oh, we absolutely ripped off or scammed Seattle. I think this is one of those trades where you look at it and say, both teams kind of won a little bit. Both teams got a strong benefit out of this deal, right? Dallas getting in a rebuild, getting a big salary, one of the higher salaries on our roster off the books. And with Seattle, you get more depth. Which you can argue, man, on the attacking side, I don't know how much depth you really have, right? I think that you could use a little more depth there. And he's a very versatile player. Schmetzer can play this guy in a number of positions. You can play him on the wing. If you guys switch formations around, you could play him as an outside back who knows how to attack the ball and move forward. So, but I don't see him coming in and like being an automatic slotted in starter, right? To me, Ferreira is one of those pieces that comes in and offers a lot of value to Seattle. With Arriola, it's just going to be wait and see. Let's see how he looks in preseason. Let's see how he looks in those first opening games. I think we'll get a good sense of the value he's going to offer. But depending on how you rate someone like Alex Roldan, he could come in and put a shift at that position. He could also be a depth piece for someone like Rothrock, someone like Georgie. Right, he's not going to give you the De La Vega numbers by any means, right? Any of those attackers that you guys use in the wing, but he is serviceable. And when you think about all these matches you guys are going to play, especially as we get towards the end of the calendar year of 2025, could prove to be valuable. So I think there are benefits on both sides. But as a Dallas fan, I'll be honest, I'm just excited to kind of move on from this and start looking at new players on the horizon.
To be honest, man, I'm stoked. I'm absolutely stoked for a lot of reasons. First, I love the distinction that you made because FC Dallas having Paul Arriola on their team is not the same as us having Paul Arriola on our team. Paul Arriola costs, I'm not sure how much, but you guys paid him a lot more than what we're paying him. You guys gave up in a trade a lot more to get him, whereas we're only giving up, I think, 300,000 up to 300,000 was the reported amount, and a draft pick. So we're giving up not a lot of resources to get a very quality role player. And that's the thing, even if he doesn't put up these gaudy numbers and really lights it up on the stat sheet, that's not what he's being brought in to do. That's not what we gave, to bring him in to do. So I'm happy with it 100%. And he's going to fit right in with the locker room because he obviously knows a lot of the guys, the Berhalter boys, as I like to call them. They got a good chemistry going on there. And, his contract's going to be significantly less for us. He's going to be paid like a top role player, like a solid role player. And I think he's going to be just that, to be honest. And I couldn't be happier. We're a team that's going to be in a lot of tournaments, going to play a lot of games. And let's be honest, we're going to try exploring, a wingback option. And let's be real about Alex Roldan, guys. Not the greatest showing. Not the greatest showing last year, especially when we needed him most. But besides that point, he's so versatile. Having a guy like that who's very versatile and is a good person to have in the locker room is very valuable to me.
I'll just add on to what you guys said. I do think I think you guys took the words out of my mouth with Arriola. He is Kellen Rowe 2.0. He's just a role guy. I think, as you said, Brody, not every signing is going to be flashy, but I think what makes fans a little upset is because there was not necessarily any shiny new toy, like another De La Vega type of signing. When what we were hoping for, I think, again, similarly to what I've said about Ferreira, good piece, the right type of signing we need to make, but there needed to be more than just Ferreira, Arriola, and we needed that striker. We needed that top class winger. That's the problem I have with it. I just think this is just a good depth piece signing. I think this is just a little too short term for me, though. It doesn't think too much long term. I think this move is it's decent. I can't be too excited about it. I can't be on your side, Brody, but I'm kind of just it's okay. It's fine. It's kind of weird, though, that we're signing so many FC Dallas players in an offseason that you expected big moves from. That's the thing that just kind of hurts my head, where it's oh, this is not what I was expecting. We bigged up this transfer window for it to be two Dallas players that both players Dallas are okay with letting go of. Not saying they're not bad players, but Dallas were okay with letting go of both of them because they're they didn't really add that much to our team. Granted, on the other side of it, they could be more hungrier, new challenges, this and that. But specifically with Arriola, I think it's a little too short term. And I'd rather just play more of the kids. I would just rather, if you want to back up right wing back, right back, you got Reed Baker Whiting, you got Cody Baker. They're 8-9 years younger. I think they'll only get better. You got Georgie, you got Rothrock. I'd rather just give them more playing time than getting Arriola in. But yeah, at the same time, you don't know how injuries are going to go. I would just prefer if we played the youngsters over Paul, because I think at some point, give it 2 or 3 more years, like Kellen Rowe, everyone was okay, this guy needs to go. He's standing on one leg. And I have a hunch the same thing could happen with Paul because he's already had one ACL tear. The guy's going to be on the wrong side of 30. Kind of like the same things we talked about with Jordan Morris. these are just the question marks that, overlay everything with Arriola for me.
And then I also wanted to say, Shion, just to counter your point, because yes, obviously we do want the young kids to get their minutes and get experience for sure. Um, but I would say that for this current team, the way our team is built and what we have coming up, I would argue that we should probably focus more on the short term because we have these big tournaments coming up. We have a squad that, yes, I know our GM put us in a bit of a cap hell situation, but we have a squad that's ready to win now. That's like ready to uh, win trophies, and basically our team, they're all getting up there. 29, 30, like it's
It could be the last hoorah is what you're saying.
yeah, and that's pretty much what I'm saying, yes. And to bring in a guy that kind of fits that mold, it's like you don't want to be a team that's like halfway in, halfway out. Like if we are gonna make these moves, like bringing Rusnak back, bringing Morris back, it shows you that we want to go short term. So from that sense, I would argue I like it. This move in particular, not the other ones, but this one because we've already made those. So this is kind of like how can you add on to that? So I like it for that sake because I think short term we do have more important needs that we have to work on. So yeah, I like it. I like focusing on the short term for those reasons.
And I think it's funny that you say that. I like your point you make. It's just the thing is, if we were to go for like more of a veteran type of guy, in my opinion, I would go for someone again. Not saying we need center backs, but like a Yoshida type of guy, for example, experience at the highest level that you could get for cheap. Like that's the type. If you're going to go for short term that you want to have success for, that's more of what I'd be looking. Not Paul Arriola. That's just because like think about it. Where's that guy had success at? Yeah, he's played in Mexico. He's played in the championship. He's played for the USMNT back in the day when they were going through that whole transitional period. But these are all, I don't know, they all has context because we all know, like, I think there's some experience, and I guess he fits the mold of what you want. Like you said earlier, Brody, he's friends with Jordan. He's friends with Jesus. Like, I guess that's fair, but it's just like, oh man, I feel like it's a little bit lazy. Definitely a little bit lazy. Again, I don't mind it. I'd rather play the kids than play Paul. I'd put my guns to that, but I get your point of like, if you already put your eggs on the old head basket, then might as well just keep adding to it. But I'm just not a fan of it, and that could probably be why. Now, I want to ask you guys, especially with having Jose on, where do you guys think Paul Arriola is primarily going to play at for the Sounders? Like, where do you think we're going to see a lot of his minutes come from?
That's a great question. Because I mentioned before how versatile he is, right? I think it will be situational on the attacking side. That's how it was with Dallas when we had all our attackers back last season. He was either depth at the winger position when Velasco needed rotation, when Ferreira needed rotation, or he was kind of dethroning Emma Tumasi at the right back position a little bit when Giovanni Jesus was out with the torn ACL. So I don't know, like as the modern game has introduced this whole different element to outside backs, right, in the back line, I think he can offer you guys a lot from back there. I don't know how married either one of you are to Alex Roldan. Personally, I wouldn't be. But at the same time, right, like you just have options from a number of positions across the field. I think personally, if I looked at where he is at 29 years old and how Schmetzer wants to play, the majority of his minutes, in my opinion, will come at right back, but there will be a strong layer of him in certain games coming off the bench to come in at winger or going up against a much lesser opposition, and he gets that start at that winger spot and maybe kind of slowly works his way back towards the right back, depending on how the season goes, right? Like those two areas are where he will get the most minutes, hands down. But I think right now, at this point of his career, the breakaway speed isn't really there anymore. Like, I'll be honest, I've seen him try to chase down those straight line balls. It's just not what it used to be when he was at DC United or back in Mexico. So I personally could see him contributing from the back line, getting forward, still getting GA, right? Still getting some assists along the way, but doing it from that right back position.
Yeah, and I guess we didn't talk about this. I think the one big positive too about Arriola coming in is it's finally competition for Alex Roldan, because my guy could drop a stinker one week and he's still going to start the next week. And it's like, we've never really had competition at the right back spot. Granted, was this the type of right back I was expecting? Because thing is, I've been watching Paul Arriola for so long, and I just don't think of him as a right back. Like, Brody, you've watched him for the US, you've seen him for Dallas, Jose. I've seen him like when he was playing in Mexico in the I'm just like, I just don't make that connection with him in that position. But that's, I guess, where his reality is set. I will say, at least the good thing is, the only place I want him to be mainly at is the right back / right wing back spot, because finally there's competition for Alex Roldan. Like, he can't always be absolute dog water one day. Oh, he throws in a good cross another day. Like, that guy is just the definition of just inconsistency, especially when it comes to being a defender. So that's the one thing I'm like, I'll give this to Paul Arriola, is at least it's competition for Alex.
And I just wanted to add too. We know that Bryant's like not the most willing to give the young guys a lot of minutes. Like, it took a while for Georgie to get a lot of minutes. Reed, yeah, he had some injuries, but it's not like he was getting a lot of minutes. This is like prime veteran guy coming in.
Yeah, this is
that
Brian's
has proved
favorite.
a lot.
This is Brian's favorite.
This is a this is a cold-blooded American veteran outside back.
But that's what I was telling Xiaoyan too when we did we talked a little bit about it on our channel. Was this is, dude, you have now, right? These are, you think about what these two signings are, Ferreira and Arriola. It's like the most MLS proven signings of all time.
100%.
That's what they are, right? And keep in mind, I still think certain GMs and certain teams get a little bit of PTSD when they look at some of the recent big splashy signings they've made. And nothing against De La Vega, right? Injuries suck. Anybody has to deal with them. I mean, it is what it is, but it doesn't take away that stain of a season to an extent, right? It's something that you think of when you think about making that next big splashy move in the market. And so, like Brody mentioned, right, you're thinking short term, let's try to make, the best of what the Sounders already have on paper. But then beyond that, like I said, it raises the floor. You kind of already know what you're going to get. You know exactly what you're going to get with these two players. Like, they've been doing it in MLS for a little while now. So you'll get more out of Ferreira, but Arriola will still chip in. 100% will chip in.
All right, well, boys and girls, that's going to be the end of today's video. Let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. If Paul Arriola joining the Seattle Sounders, what would you rate it out of 10? Who'd you agree with? Who'd you disagree with? Let us know all your thoughts in the comments down below. And boys and girls, I hope you'll have a lovely day.